Zarude is the best Tera captain in Pokemon Draft League, and subsequently, one of the most valuable Pokemon in the format in general. It has absolutely ravaged the Pokemon Draft League scene this last year, having incredible performances in the highest levels of tournaments. However, Zarude was not always the metagame-defining threat as we see it today. In this video, we're going to go over Zarude's rise in Pokemon Draft League, and what makes it so freaking good. Hey guys, OGalbina here. If you guys do enjoy Draft League content in general, this is your place. We have plenty of analytical content like this, as well as my own battles that go up every week. So if you do enjoy, be sure to drop a like on the video, as well as subscribe to the channel. We just hit 4K recently, and we have the lofty goal of hitting 10,000 subscribers by the end of this year. Big goal, I know, but I think we can do it. I need your help though. That being said, let's jump into a little bit of Zarude's history. Zarude was introduced in Generation 8, and saw some minor success in its debut generation. It held a really solid niche, being a Pokemon that hard-walled the metagame-defining and debatably broken Spectrier. Not only does Zarude shrug off Shadow Balls with ease, but it also had its incredible signature move in Jungle Healing, which allowed it to not have to worry about the crippling Will-O-Wisp that Spectrier and other ghosts would commonly throw around. Keep in mind, Spectrier did not get access to Draining Kiss in Generation 8, that was Gen 9 buff. Don't get it twisted though, Zarude was far from top tier. As good as its typing was at checking Spectrier and some other ghosts, Dark and Grass is pretty terrible on its own. Being 4 times weak to Bug isn't great in a format where U-turn is pretty much the best move around, plus the plentiful other weaknesses being a Grass type provides. It also had the downside of being a Dark type without access to Knockoff, the other contender for the best move in Draft League. By no means was Zarude bad, more so a serviceable mid-tier ghost check and solid choice scarfer. Everything changed in Generation 9. That being said, not all at first. Zarude came into the generation with a few huge buffs to its move pool. The first and most important was its newfound access to Knockoff. Finally, it had access to the Dark typing's most spammable stab move. It also got Swords Dance. Zarude already had access to Bulk Up, but Swords Dance's immediate power boost could always be great depending on the matchup. To go along with the newly added Swords Dance, Zarude got access to Trailblaze, a low base power stab move that allows Zarude to get a speed boost upon using it. This really paved the way for pseudo double dance sets to run away with the game. These additions were great and all, don't get me wrong, but nothing that would make Zarude over the top broken. That change would come in this most recent year, 2024, when people started to realize the potential Zarude had as a Tera captain. In DPL and DCL, the two largest team tournaments in the Pokemon Draft League scene, players started to recognize that Zarude might be one of the best Tera captains out there. The reason? Its stats. We didn't really touch on Zarude's stats a bit before, particularly its defenses, because it was pretty terrible defensively outside of those Spectrier or some other ghost matchups. However, Zarude was a giant stat monster. It not only had the great natural speed of 105 and attack of 120, it also had some pretty incredible defensive stats with a spread of 105, 105, 95. A defensive stat spread like this on a Pokemon with Zarude's naturally good speed and offenses was just begging to take advantage of the terrestrialization mechanic. When you factor in its access to the previously mentioned Bulk Up and Swords Dance for setup, and both Jungle Healing to shrug off status, plus Synthesis for more consistent healing, Zarude was positioned to be a beast with Tera. All it needed to do was change its terrible Dark Grass typing to something more neutrally solid defensively, like say Fairy, Water, Electric, or something like that, and it could win pretty easily. You could also see Zarude dipping into Tera Blast as its coverage, with a typing that had solid coverage alongside the ever-spammable Knockoff. Once players started experimenting with Zarude, it absolutely took off in popularity. Today, we're going to showcase a few replays from both DPL and DCL of Zarude doing its thing. Alrighty guys, let's take a look at some Zarude gaming. First, we have a replay from Sage here. I believe this was going to be what? DCL semis? Sorry, I had to pull my dock over to the side. Yeah, so this was a DCL semis replay between Lucas and Sage here. Sage has had an incredible run, debatably the best player in the format right now with how great their run has been recently, and DCL was obviously no different. We see a really strong looking team. Garchomp, Tera Zarude, Deoxys Speed, Goldango, Cinderace, and I believe Tera Lapras, which is something I feel like I've, at least on L5 stream, I've seen them use a ton. So really powerful team into a Sneasler, Terapagos, Tera Bolt, Tinkaton, which has a shutdown sprite by the way now, and I don't know if this is a recent thing, like a today thing, but I've never seen this. Alamomoa and Crocodile might go. So let's go ahead and just take a look. First, we're gonna stop, take a look at Tera Preview. On Lucas's side right here, it looks like we have Tera Dragon on our Bolt, and if there is another Tera Caps on the team, it's either a stab typing or it's not here. And then on Sage's side, it looks like we have Tera Fighting Zarude and Tera Water on the Lapras. First up, we do see a lead Bolt. You see this very, very commonly in the scene right now. Lead Booster Energy Bolt come in, do a ton of damage, and really wreak some havoc. Tera Dragon immediately, as a Super Fang comes out, which is a great way of guaranteeing some chip on this Bolt, which is hard to kill from full for this team once it Teras. We see actually a Citrus Berry proc on what I'd have to assume is a pretty darn bulky Cinderace right here, as a Dragon Pulse comes out here, gets a crit on the incoming Goldango. We're going to see it be forced out immediately as Crocodile is going to pivot in, take a Make It Rain to the face, takes 76%, so a ton of damage right there. Zarude is going to be the pivot out next, as we see a double out in Alamomola. This also does reveal that this is either a really, really slow Crocodile, or this is Choice Scarf Goldango, because we did see the Goldango switch out first. So all good things to know, things to keep in mind. We are just going to knock with our Zarude here, and I think this is kind of like the power of jungle healing, right? We don't have to worry about any status, any shenanigans, because I'm assuming if we're willing to stay in on this thing and just get rid of its item, we're probably going to be some kind of jungle healing variant, maybe a Cobra Cloak, but probably a jungle healing variant to ensure that we don't get burned by this guy, or don't stay burned by this guy long term. So nice little knock, get rid of some boots, which is nice if we end up getting up some hazards with our Deoxys later, as we see a pivot out into Sneasler immediately as some leftovers proc, and we're basically back at full. Goldango's going to pivot out on the close combat, as Lucas does just hit right into the Goldango. Now, if this is not Clover Berry, it's definitely going to be in range of like a Throat Chop, same thing with like a Shadow Claw if it's not Cassib. But as you noted earlier, this is going to probably be a Scarf Goldango, unless this is Slow Crook, and if it's really, really Slow Crook, they might have just thought, hey, I'm Slow Crook. This Goldango has the potential to be faster than me. But we do see this is Scarf Goldango. It's going to click Psychic and completely Oko the Sneasler. Great for the opposing side. We're going to see Crocodile come back out, again, as it is revealed Scarf, as Earthquake is going to pop into Lapras, do 50%, which is nice, as an Ice Shard pops and kills Crook. So this is probably a more offensive Lapras. Next up is Raging Bolt, as we do click Ice Shard into the Raging Bolt with our Lapras. Eatable Conberry are able to eat up that Thunderbolt. We're going to Dragon Dance here on the Thunderclap, and now we would out-prioritize with an Ice Shard. Alamomola comes out, but, I mean, even if you're like a player-off variant, do you kill Lapras from 14 with Aloe? And otherwise, obviously, we're going to be Water Absorbed in this matchup and be able to eat this thing up, so is this fodder for this Pokemon? We'll see. We are just going to Earthquake here, get a little bit of damage. I guess it covers in case it can hit us, I suppose. As we see a Wish pass out into Terapagos immediately, as we see another Dragon Dance. We do. Now keep in mind, there's no fighting resist on this team. Terapagos is being forced in really, really early, and if we can keep this shell broken on Terapagos, once we start boosting with either Bulk Up or Swords Dance, the Zarude looks really scary with Drain Punch. There's not much the opposing side can do. Pokemon like Tinkaton don't do real damage to Zarude with its base stats, like we talked about in the intro. So we're going to see a Waterfall pop into Terapagos, do 21%, as we do get Lucky Flinch, which is great for Sage here. One more Waterfall isn't going to be enough to take it out, but this ensures that this thing is nice and low and probably in range of an immediate Drain Punch. Zarude's going to come out and just Drain Punch right here, take a KO if the Terapagos wants to stay in. And again, if Aloe wants to come out, that's fine, right? We can always just SD and jungle healing in its face afterwards. As Tinkaton is going to be the pivot, which, again, I do want to just shout out, dude, shouts to the Showdown team for getting us a couple Gen 9 sprites, because this guy looks sick in the Showdown, what do you call it, the replay this time. But we do see that his Balloon, Drain Punch pops, is a 2-hit KO with that immediate power with the +2, which is great. Thunder Wave is going to pop. Not too big of a deal. Play Rough only doing 36%, showing how bulky this Pokemon is, as after our jungle healing and our leftovers, I mean, we're back at full, and we're just going to kill this thing with a Drain Punch immediately, and there's not much the opposing side can do to stop Zarude from just winning the video game right now. Another SD is going to pop into the Aloe, showing that this is definitely not going to be like a... I guess with Drain Punch, we saw that it definitely doesn't have Water Stab, but with Jungle Healing, it's fine. We don't need to Oko this thing if we can just set the +6 on it, right? Icy Wind pops to lower its speed. We are still faster on our Zarude, as we see another Swords Dance and a Healing Wish into the Raging Bolt, getting this thing back at full. Again, this is Tera Dragon Raging Bolt. This is a really strong Pokemon. Now, Lucas doesn't have that many tools left in general to win the video game, but this is a ridiculously strong Pokemon in front of Zarude right here. We're going to see a Dragon Pulse, critical hit from Tera Dragon, only doing 63, which is pretty insane. We Drain Punch all of it back right here, as another Draco is going to pop, bring this thing down nice and low, and we're just going to go ahead and Drain Punch it off once again. Ending our exchange here, 29%. Now, we're not going to be able to win the game, as Terapagos will come in and revenge us with the Icy Wind drop, but from here we can just go out into our Goldango, click Make It Rain, and lock up this win. So very, very strong performance on the stage here, and I think Zarude definitely showed what it can do, even if it didn't immediately win. I mean, nothing killed it. I mean, you saw the Tinkaton, what? That did... was that 36% with a super effective play rough? That was not like bulk up boosted, by the way. It just does 36, which is really, really silly. And I doubt this was a Fizz Def Zarude. It looked definitely to be a little bit more specially defensive. So again, those raw base stats really coming up clutch here. Sage able to take home a nice win in this DCL semifinals matchup. Alrighty, from DCL to DPL, we have a game here with Zooch against Jaska here in DPL semifinals this most recent season. So this game is a little under a year old. This is about right when I'd say Zarude really started to crop up and start to pop off in the tournament scene. We see a really, really scary team on Zooch's side with the Tera Zarude, a no Tera Bolt, which is still a really strong Pokemon in my opinion. I think it's a Pokemon that definitely should be explored and kind of talked about a little bit more. Tentacruel, the Landorus T, I won't say Cobalion, Iron Crown, and Iron Valiant. So lots of huge sets. I mean, the combination of Valiant plus Zarude. What do you do about that if you're the the opposing side? Then we have a pretty fun team here from Jaska. We see a Tera Torn, Iron Treads, Glow King, Rotom Wash, the Hisui Quillfish, and then the back. So kind of some just standard bulky offense. Tera Torn is broken. Set up some hazards, pivot around, and win the video game. So definitely some cool stuff. Let's take a look at Tera types really quick before we jump in. We see that it is Tera Dark on the Zarude. Don't know if there's another Tera Captain. If it is the Crown, it's Steel. But that's the only thing I could see it maybe being. And then the opposing side, we have Tera Ground Tornadoes, which is actually very, very powerful in this game. The combination of ground plus flying is very, very strong into Zooch's team. Let's see how he ends up going and dealing with it. We do see lead Zarude immediately into the Tornadoes. This is to secure our Tera, which is really, really nice. U-turn showing the Life Orb on the Torn, but still not doing too much. And we just get a free knockoff into something, right? This Tera Dark boosted, even if we're uninvested, the Dark boost is going to make this thing really, really powerful. As an Ice Spinner is going to pop immediately, as we do just start bulking up in this thing's face. We are not worried in the slightest about this guy. We do see a substitute though. And what this kind of indicates and shows, this is going to be the sub-Endeavor version of the Iron Treads, which is definitely a great way of maintaining and making sure that this Zarude stays low. But the issue is, with Jungle Healing, we have 16 PP to recover, which means that is much more than Endeavor. If this was a Synthesis variant, we'd be able to potentially keep this thing low if we were able to call out the Synthesis turns a little bit better. But I mean, from this point, it's a really bad uphill battle for Jaska to not let this thing not only stay healthy, but also, losing your treads in the process. So definitely pretty darn worrying. We're also at a point too where we can't like sub down to a perfect 1. We're getting this thing down to 22% of treads, which looks like it was what? How much was that? How much did it get back? Let me see. Jungle Healing, leftovers. How much is this Endeavor? Bring it down to Endeavor 19%. So just something to keep in mind. We're not keeping this thing as low as humanly possible with it, which also means we're burning less Jungle Healings, which is also good. We're just going to go ahead and knock this turn, get the turn right, end up at 34, which you think that's plenty low enough to be in range and not really be a threat the rest of the game. I mean, good bring from Jaska's end, identifying, hey, don't want to be set up fodder for this Zarude. But you'll see that's not quite the case when you're Zarude. We are going to see a pivot out into the Tentacruel as a Bleak Wind Storm does unfortunately miss into it, as a Bleak Wind Storm is going to hit right here, do about 40%. Really, really strong Tornadoes, but it does lose its Life Orb, so it's not as strong anymore. As Bleak Wind Storm is going to pop, you're going to see a flip turn from the Tentacruel, get out into the Raging Bolt, and just kind of click a button right here. We see a Tera Ground to guard against that Thunderclap, as well as guarantee the Tera. You turn out into Glow King, as we do just drop a very, very strong Draco Meteor, doing 72% to this Glow King. So really big threat that Raging Bolt is. That might be Specs damage, I'm not 100% sure. Zarude's trying to find its entry point on the Glow King, as we do see a Chilly Reception, but now that this Tornadoes comes out, being that it lost its Life Orb to the Tentacruel, this offensive Torn is doing 27% to Zarude. 27! With Stab Bleak Wind. I mean, ridiculous damage. Not only that, we're baiting a miss and still gaining health back, right? 29 is ridiculous damage from offensive Torn into this Zarude. I mean, ridiculous. The stats that this Pokemon has are really silly. Obviously, this is Spadef. We see just as much from U-turn right there. But again, we've ended this exchange back in the green at 53%. As Baxcalibur is going to come out, and we see a Glaive Rush immediately trying to force some damage on that Zarude. Crown is able to eat that up pretty comfortably. Just clicks Tachyon Cunder into a Rotom pivot right here. We're going to see the Rotom, or the... what do you call it? Oh my gosh, I always forget. Iron Crown pivot out immediately, as it shows we're probably not some kind of Volt switching variant, maybe some kind of setup set, as rocks go up from the landers, and we're going to see a U-turn out on a Volt switch on the Tentacruel. Good aggressive Volt switch, but doesn't kill because Tentacruel is fat as hell. We're going to see rocks hit the Torn as it U-turns, picks off the Tentacruel, allowing Jaska to reset tempo and show that he is boots on the Baxcalibur. We're going to see a Tachyon Cutter out here do absolutely nothing into Glow King because there is a screen up. We see Agility, which kind of indicates this might be some kind of weakness policy variant, trying to bait like a flamethrower into it. We do just see a Chilly Reception as Rotom is going to be the pivot out. Landorus is once again going to come out in its seed as a Volt Switch does pop. We do know that this thing is dual screens, Volt Switch, Light Screen, Reflect, and then it could be Hydro in the last slot, or it's gonna be like some kind of Willow or some kind of Pain Split. We don't know for sure, but you can pretty comfortably call that they're probably not going for a Hydro there. They're gonna want to keep up initiative and Volt out so that they're not letting in that Zarude. Again, the pressure that Zarude is exerting in these battles is immense. Even in the game with Sage, where it did not win, the pressure that Pokemon exerted was ridiculous, right? Not to mention how much pressure it's exerting in this battle. So we do see a U-turn, and it does show Pain Split in its last slot. So this is Mono Volt Switch Rotom. Good to know. Obviously, we don't have to worry about getting burned or hydroed on our Landorus. We do see a Reflect go up in this thing's face as it does, or Zarude switch in on a Reflect going up, and then a Bulk Up from the Zarude immediately afterwards as a Volt happens, only does 15. I mean, we're just basically going to get that back with lefties, right? We do see it come back. We're just kind of jungle healing off, kind of scout and see what this wants to do. We don't have to worry about Scarf hitting us or Banded knocking us out. Only 36%, as we can knock off and do 66% through that Reflect right there. That was double damage, obviously, because of Glaive Rush, but still sizable damage. And we've really just neutralized this Baxcalibur in the sense that it cannot come in again and not be at 14%, or I don't know, I can't do math. 9%? Something like that. EQ is going to come out. Very good aggressive play from Jaski here, taking out the Iron Crown, but that does just allow our Valiant to come right in and click a strong Moonblast. As the Qwilfish is going to pivot out here, we do see Moonblast into it. I believe we were probably scouting and not wanting to go hard Glow King on like a potential physical variant, but I guess we have Light Screen up, so I'm not 100% sure. Maybe like an aggressive Shadow Ball? Not sure. We do see Moonblast into the Glow King as we do pivot out and save our Valiant, and we've gained health back up to 57% on the Zarude that was basically dead at the start of the game. Sludge Bomb pops 20%. 20. This is absolutely free setup fodder, because again, we don't have to worry about being poisoned because of jungle healing. We're going to see a Chilly Reception pop into the Hisui Qwilfish, as I believe we see just a Bulk Up right here. Yeah, getting up to +1 defense. Qwilfish is only at 24 too, so it's not like it can pivot out often. Raging Bolt's going to pivot in on a Forced Haze from said Qwilfish, and this is just a knockout. There's nothing that takes Draco Meteor from this point. Draco into the Torn, good night, it dies here. We're able to position our Bolt pretty darn well in this game. Rotom is going to be the next pivot out right here, as we do switch hard Zarude, punishing any kind of screen or anything of the sort. We also keep our Bolt really, really darn healthy, which is nice in the case of, you know, punishing Qwilfish and Slowking and things of the sort. Pain Split can come out, but it's not going to matter too much, and we're just setting up to +6, baby. Like, there's really not too much of a worry here. Slowking is going to be the pivot out here. I mean, the best it can try and do is maybe potentially Trick Room, something of the sorts. Zooch has the ability to play this nice and slow from this spot, being able to just jungle healing up. It's going to pivot out with that Chilly Reception. Rotom comes in, but again, just a jungle healing. Don't have to worry about it. We can stall out these Reflect turns, these Trick Room turns, all those things. As we do just see, again, a Bulk Up, right? We don't have to attack. We don't have to put ourselves lower for Pain Split to, have to, gain more health back and position awkwardly around Trick Room and things of the sort. The Qwilfish is going to come out here, and good positioning from Jaska, trying to get this Haze off from the last turn. It's faster. But again, Zooch is in a position. You just Bulk Up as Trick Room ends, and we still end this exchange at +1 with this Qwilfish dying to rocks on the switch in. So we are going to be able to knock this thing off. Reflect is aptly prevented from going back up, at least, until this Rotom comes back in this next turn, as we do see final move Petal Blizzard is just going to OHKO the Rotom. Again, showing that Zooch could just, oh man, I forgot that they forfeited that turn. Showing that Zeus could just play this nice and slow until he found the perfect positioning, because nothing could kill, especially defensive, Bulk Up Zarude with a jungle healing. And that's kind of the theme of this video. It's hard to beat a Pokemon when you can't kill it and you can't punish it with status. That's it. It's too fast to be taunted and encored consistently. It's too bulky to be pushed through with special attackers, and it's too strong to let it set up to plus a million. Like, it's such a ridiculous Pokemon. I think there are discussions for it potentially being Tera banned. I think there's definitely a valid argument there, and I think personally there's no debate this being the best Tera Pokemon currently allowed in the format. Maybe there'll be some more innovation soon, but this is my pick for the best Pokemon, or the best Tera Pokemon in Draft League currently. If you guys did enjoy today's video and found it somewhat informative, someone enjoyed it, please drop a like on the video as well, sub to the channel. On our way to 10K subs by the end of the year. That's very far away though, and I need your help in reaching that goal. Also, please drop in the comments topics like this that you'd like to see me cover in the future. I like doing these kinds of videos. I just need more, ideas. My next one coming out next week, either Thursday or Friday, I forget which day. I'll be a discussion on Lugia and whether or not Lugia should be allowed in standard Draft League, which sounds crazy, but it's a fun video. Again, drop a like if you enjoyed, sub if you're new. See you guys next time. Later.